Hello, good morning. We go now on with this session. We're going to start now the roundtable opportunities and limits of regional participation. My name, for those who don't know me, is Deborah Miralles. I am Senior Policy Officer at the Directorate General for EU Affairs in the Catalan government, and I will be moderating this panel. Over the next half an hour, we will try to explore why and how regional governments engage within the Committee of the Regions in practice. Maybe we will move from more a theoretical session to a more practical one. And then we will try to find out what opportunities it offers for regions to influencing EU policy making, and also where the limitations lie. Before we begin, let me briefly explain how this session will work. We will have 3 blocks and final conclusions. For each of these blocks, I will give to each speaker 7 minutes to answer some questions, and we will have then a final conclusive round of about 2 minutes per person to finish with final remarks or whatever is left behind. I also encourage participation from the audience into the chat of YouTube. If you are following us on YouTube, you can submit your questions through the chat. We will collect them, and we will have the possibility to answer these questions in the end of the session. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our speakers, all of them very experienced in the daily work of the Committee of the Regions, which will help us to give this more practical view of the work of the committee. First, we have Agustí Fernández de Losada, Secretary for European, Multilateral Affairs and Development Cooperation at the Government of Catalonia. Thank you very much for being here. We have also with us Florian Ziegenbalg, Head of Unit responsible for European policy at the Baden-Württemberg State Ministry. Thank you very much, Florian, for joining us. And finally, Nicola Dall'Olio, Public Policy Officer at the Emilia-Romagna Region Delegation and Expert Assistant of Alonso Mammi, Regional Minister and member of the Committee of the Regions. So thank you all for being here. And now we will start with our first question, which will be more focused on why those regions invest in the Committee of the Region. Which is the motivation? Which is the strategic value that your regions give to the Committee of the Region? And I would ask you to go more in detail in these 3 areas. What role does the Committee of the Regions play within your broader European strategy? Why do you think regional government should dedicate political and administrative resources to it? And finally, what can regions realistically expect to achieve through their participation at the Committee of the Region? As I said in the beginning, I would give you about 7 minutes each to answer these questions of the first block. And if you please, Agustí Fernández de Losada, if you would like to start, the floor is yours.
Sure. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, the organizers, for convening this timely and very relevant debate on the Committee of the Regions, on the importance for regions to participate in these EU institutions. To answer to your question, I would like to first tell you that for our government, for the Catalan government, EU and the link with the EU is crucial. For us, being part of the EU policy making is essential, because many of the policies, most of the policies that are developed by the European Union, by the European institutions, have a direct impact in our realities. We, as a government, we are fully committed with the European European construction process. We are also really committed with the foundations of this process. For us, what the group represents in terms of democracy, in terms of the rule of law, in terms of protection of human rights, etc., is crucial. It explains the way we see the world, the way we see our societies. For us, Europe is a priority. But if we go in depth into the different policies that the European Union is launching, in many cases these policies have a direct impact in our realities. They have an impact in the policies we develop as a government, but they also have an impact in our society, in our business sector, in our cultural institutions, in our civil society organizations, in our citizens. I think there is a very relevant part of applied directly at the regional and at the local levels. And there are policies like culture, like fisheries, like transport, like industry, like the digital transition, or like the climate transition. Now, for example, behind the strategic autonomy or even defense are crucial, I insist, to explain and to provide a framework in which we operate as a region. That means that we have a matter of responsibility. We have to be involved in the policy making process, and we have been involved. I give you some examples. Our government has prepared a position paper to bring our perspective, for example, on the new MFF. So we are concerned about the proposal that the Commission did for the new MFF, for the budget, for the European budget, and all the pillars that are behind this budget. And we wanted to participate towards the definition of this budget. For us, it's really important. We are following also the definition of these national regional partnership plans, which will gather key policies for us. Regional policy, agricultural policy, fisheries, many segments of the climate policies. So we are also following the way that the Commission is developing or is proposing to regulate these national and regional partnership plans. We are also highly connected to the Competitive Fund, to the Industrial Accelerator Act, or what is behind the new policies for the global Europe or the global Game. These are only some examples of policies that are designed, will be implemented by the European institutions that have direct impact on our realities, and where we have prepared documents, positionings to have a say, to inform this. Here the key question is which channels have regions who influence the policy making process, and which are the channels that regions can use to make their voice heard, to inform these policies. And we have a diversity of channels. We have bilateral relations with the Commission. We have delegations to many regions, and I think all the three regions that are seated in this panel, we have delegations in Brussels, so we have this bilateral channel with the Commission, with the European Parliament that plays a crucial role in the legislative process, also with our member states and with the permanent representations in Brussels, which are also crucial players in the policy-making process. We use also alliances with other regions, networks. For Catalonia, being an active member of different networks is crucial. Not only institutionalized networks like, I don't know, the CPMR or the AER, initiatives that are launched to follow certain questions that are relevant. But here, the Committee of the Region, as a channel, plays a crucial role. It is a unique institution that represents the voice of regional and local governments. It is an advisory body. It must be consulted. So consulting the Committee of the Regions is compulsory, but it's not binding. So has a limited capacity to influence. I would say, with the aim of provoking a little bit the debate, that the Committee of the Regions is situated in the periphery of the institutional architecture of the EU, but it exists, is recognized in the treaty as a body, as an institute that represents the regional and the local voice, and in my perspective, it is highly important for regions, for local authorities. And it is, for us, a key channel to bring our voice to the different legislative processes that are made. We have used the Committee of the Regions, and we are using the Committee of the Regions to, I insist, bring our perspective to the different policy-making processes that I have already mentioned. So I will let it here. I insist, it is a key channel. It is a unique institution for regions and for local authorities, and we are fully committed to be an active member of this.
Thank you very much, Agustí. I would now like to turn to Florian Ziegenbalg. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, and also for our friends of Catalonia. You hear me? No? Okay, perfect. Thank you very much also for our friends of Catalonia for organizing this conference. I think it's quite important that we, at least at the moment, we deal also with this Committee of the Regions for us in Baden-Württemberg. So to say, it was from the beginning on, from the origins, we had already before advocated for creating a body for regional and local authorities inside the European institutional architecture. So the German lenders, but also the Baden-Württemberg state government had been promoting since the 80s for such an institution, and that's why we were always committed as state government, as Land, inside the Committee of the Regions. And I think I can say that also we have a relatively new government since May, but we have a long tradition, and I think I'm very optimistic that we can also continue with this long tradition to being a very active region on the European level, which also includes an active role in the Committee of the Regions. And that brings me a little bit to the first question. What is the idea, or what is the expectations, and what is the role in our general strategy on EU policy for the Committee of the Regions? Maybe as explained also, there we're very close again to Catalonia. Agustí, I think it's a little bit the same, on the same page. We have a lot of channels which we can use also in German and the federal system. We have the Bundesrat. There we have, Baden-Württemberg is always the chair of the EU Affairs Committee in the Bundesrat. We have the conference of the European ministers of the German Länder. At the moment, until tomorrow, we have the chairmanship of this conference, and we have a lot of very different contacts also here in Brussels, where I'm sitting now. Normally I'm sitting in Stuttgart, but today we have an important event, so I'm here. So we have a lot of informal ways also to influence or try to influence the European policy, but, and that's the specialty and the unique point of the Committee of the Regions, there is a sole body which represents the local and regional authorities inside the European institutional architecture, and this is the Committee of the Regions, and that's why it's maybe the only formal way to channel also our interests and our issues inside the European, especially the legislative procedure, but also beyond that. I think Gianluca also already mentioned the Danube strategy and other things which are important, also initiatives out from the regions inside the European arena. And I think this is also important aspect of the Committee of the Regions to like influence, for one thing, the legislative work of the EU, but also on the other side to raise issues which are raising inside the regions, like 20 years ago when we the sort of idea of founding fathers and mothers of the Danube strategies from the macro-regional point, but very recent, I remember very well when the ARA, the Automotive Regions Alliance, has been created, which has been also a child of the Committee of the Regions, and this is also an important aspect that from this regional arena we have a lot of ideas and initiatives which are then made by these institutions inside the European Union, and I think this is a very important aspect. We come later on the future of the idea, what's the perspective of the Committee of the Regions, but this is one important point I want to raise here in the beginning, also for the state government of Baden-Württemberg, that we have this arena used also for new impulses and new ideas on the EU level from the regions. This is one point. Another point is that that we have also this network. I think it was already mentioned that is a unique point and unique area where we can meet other regions, other like-minded partners for ideas and for issues, because we realize that it's more important to go with friends, with networks on the European levels, and that it's important to act in this community. And I think there the Committee of the Regions plays also an important role for us to find like-minded partners and also to exchange best practices and all these things, and also to then raise concrete issues. Like last year we had the opinion on the EU-Switzerland relations, which have been very much important for us as bordering regions to Switzerland. And I think this is also important example where the regions can make a difference, because also inside Switzerland, the cantons, the conference of the cantons, made the case for the new bilateral agreements between Switzerland and the EU level, and also we as a state government made a case with the Commission, with the Parliament, also the Council, through the German federal government, that there has to be a restart of the negotiations on EU-Switzerland relations. And I think it was very important that also the General Committee of the Regions has been used, and that we have there also opinion on that, and that we make it clear via this that this is an issue which concerns all the regions on all levels, and that's why I think it's a very valuable contribution of the Committee of the Regions in this special case. And I think this is maybe a sort of example for the importance of the Committee of the Regions. On the other side, I think it was already mentioned before that we have to be also realistic, that maybe the expectations should not be too high. That this was already mentioned, that the Committee of Regions is a consultative body, advisory body, but that we can imagine that it's sort of a Bundesrat on the EU level. But nevertheless, I think, and there are various examples, that it can make also some influence on some cases. And I think the more the issue is related to regional and local matters, the higher the impact is on the European level. That's why I think it's important also to concentrate mainly or focus a lot on these issues, and also to use it as a maybe as a third aspect I want to mention in this respect is also to make use of the high expertise in administrative matters in the implementation of EU legislation on site, because we have a high degree of administrative capacity in our region, and that's why these experience can also influence and can also be used or should be used even more. Today there's a big conference of the RECAP network here in Brussels, and I think this is also an important contribution that we can also make use of this, that we can that we can channel our idea and our experiences from the administrative day-to-day work in the European legislative procedure, and also in the impact assessment, but also in like new legislation or the like reform of or the evaluation of legislation. I think this is maybe a little bit underestimated, but I'm happy that also the last commission and the recent commission has already been very active in this, and this was very valuable of the Committee of the Regions to start this RECAP network, and I think this can be even more important for the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Florian. Thank you for your insights. I would now like turn to Nicola Dall'Olio to give us his impressions.
Thank you for inviting us to this interesting and timely conference. As you were so kind to send us the question in advance, I wrote the answer, and even if it's maybe a little bit peculiar, I will read our answers because it helped me to express in an orderly manner, and I hope also to respect the limit of duration of the speech. So I will, and I can send you also this answer at the end of the conference. So for your first question, for Emilia-Romagna, participation in the Committee of the Region is not a standalone activity. It is an integral part of our broader European strategy. Our objective is to build strong and stable relations with the European institution, to contribute to the legislative process at an early stage, and to defend the role of regions as managing authorities for cohesion policy and rural development funds, above all, and to ensure that the needs and specific characteristics of our territory, our economy, and our communities are taken into account in the European policy making. The Committee of the Regions is one part of this strategy, and like many regions, we are active members of a number of European regional networks, each focusing on specific policy areas, as the colleagues said before, and we are also in the same coalition or network often. In agriculture, which is the area I work on, Emilia-Romagna region is member of AREPO, and Catalonia and Baden-Württemberg is member also of AREPO, is the network of European regions and producer of geographical indication. We are also members of AREF, is the Assembly of European Horticultural Regions, as Catalonia do, and of agri-regions, a coalition of agricultural regions working on to preserve the role of regional authorities in the implementation. We do with regional networks is in some ways integrated and reinforce the work we do in the Committee of the Region. That was the point I was expressing and showing in that moment, and the position, and so I will continue from there. And the position that are developed within our networks can feed directly into core opinions and political debates, and at the same time, the discussion taking place within the committee, the opinion it adopts, and the information we receive firsthand from the European institution become extremely valuable inputs for defining the common position of those same networks. Then there is therefore a continuous exchange between these two dimensions. And also the committee also offers something that regional networks alone cannot provide. When a regional representative becomes a rapporteur, the committee opens doors to a much more structured dialogue with the European institution. It creates opportunities to engage directly with European Parliament rapporteurs, officials from the European Commission representative, and I will maybe describe that in this experience in the next question, and also through to the member states, the permanent representation, and some way to the Council. And these contacts are not an end in themselves. They allow regions to explain how our European legislation works in practice, to share implementation experience, and we hope also to improve the quality of future legislation. I would add that the committee is also an important political forum. It brings together representatives of regions and cities from across Europe who deal every day with the practical consequences of European policy. And this creates a unique environment for exchanging experiences and, perhaps more importantly, for building a common political culture around principles that are fundamental for regional governments. And sometimes they are a little bit forgotten in Brussels: subsidiarity, place-based policy, and multi-level governance. And these principles we know are particularly relevant today, as many of us are closely following the discussion on the next multi-annual financial framework, and some of the proposals currently under discussion raise questions about the future role of region in the management of European programs. And participation in the committee also means staying closely connected to the European legislative process, of course. Provides regular opportunities to exchange views with the European Commission and senior officials, to anticipate policy developments, and to build long-term relationship with other regional governments. In fact, the Water Resilience Alliance that I mentioned earlier was initially inspired by a discussion within the Committee of the Region. It then developed and expanded thanks to the context and cooperation made possible through the core. And this is, in my view, a good example of the committee acting not only as a consultative body and assembly, but also as a catalyst for cooperation between regions.
Thank you to the three of you. I think there's something I would like to put the accent on, and this is something that Agustí said at the beginning, which was the word responsibility. I think both, all the three regions, which are outstanding regions with many years experience in the Committee of the Region, you have shown with all your examples that there is a sense of responsibility behind your work in the European Union, which goes further than the limits of the Committee of the Regions. You know very well which the limits are, but still there's a sense of responsibility behind these regions that make you be completely involved in the EU policy making and use all the tools available to defend the interests of your regions. And I think this is key in this participation at the European level. I would move now to the second question, which is now not so much the why are the regions or should the regions be in the Committee of the Regions, but how. This is more in detail to go to the practical dimension of this participation. How, and then I would ask you, how is it organized, this participation? Some of you have already said it a little bit, but if you could go more into detail. How is this participation in the Committee of the Regions organized within your administration? How do you connect this work with other channels of engagement in Brussels? And which activities or instruments of the committee have proved to be most valuable for your regional perspective? Again, I would like to give the word to Agustí to start with this second block. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Well, as I said at the beginning, we try to be highly connected with the Committee of the Regions. We follow all the debates. We ensure a high-level representation via our president or our minister as an alternate. So our president has been present in some of the discussions in Brussels, the Committee of the Regions. Of course, his agenda is quite complicated, but if he is not able to attend the meetings of the Committee of the Regions, then is our minister that operates as the alternate. So we ensure a high level representation. We are present in 2 commissions, I think like all other regions or members. In our case, we are members of the FIBEX Commission and of the COTER Commission. One commission is relevant for us because we manage the external action policy of our government. So through the CIVEX Commission, we have a channel to influence the EU external policy, so the global Europe policy. I'll get back to this after. And through COTER, we follow the MFF, we follow regional policy, cohesion, the evolution, and I think we share here a key concern on the evolution of the regional policy and the structural funds for the next MFF, but also certain specific policies like housing, which are crucial for us. We follow the work of the Committee of the Regions through our delegation. In Brussels, we have a specific team that follows and articulates with the Committee of the Regions, despite also at the headquarters in our general direction for European affairs, we complement, we articulate also the following of the various initiatives where we are, policy initiatives where we are engaged within the committee. For us, the drafting process of an opinion is relevant. We launched we prepared our first opinion as a government, and we are now in the government since almost 2 years. Last December, we approved our first opinion, and I think drafting an opinion is very interesting. Not only because it allows you to have a say in a certain policy that is relevant for you. In our case, we drafted an opinion on the global gateway, the EU external investment strategy, which is relevant for local and regional governments. We drafted an opinion on localizing the global gateway. So it was relevant to have a say in this policy-making process, in the way that European institutions are defining this investment strategy, which is very important. Also, because it allowed us to articulate with the key stakeholders in the area. We organized a stakeholders meeting with the main networks, city and regional networks that operate in decentralized cooperation in EU external affairs. We had also different national governments involved in the consultation. Certain governments that are sensitive and close to or trying to promote the participation of France, Germany through GIZ, so different operators, and also UN agencies based in Brussels that were also interested in this idea of localizing big investment opportunities. Of course, when we finished the process of drafting the opinion that was approved by unanimity at the plenary of the committee, well, it was a relevant political milestone for us to have approved an opinion and something that was relevant for us by unanimity at the committee. We also presented our opinion in a meeting of the Council. So this link with member states and this link with the Council, but also with the European Parliament is crucial. So the complementarity of the efforts you are developing. If you are drafting an opinion, or if you are conducting, as Emilia-Romagna, a network, it allows you to lead a little bit this dialogue with other institutions, with national governments, etc. So here it is also relevant. We had the opportunity to present our opinion in a meeting that was gathering member states to prepare the Council conclusions on the Global Gateway. And we succeeded in incorporating in these conclusions a specific paragraph on the relevance of local and regional governments in the Global Gateway. So now we have an official Council conclusions on the Global Gateway that speaks about the relevance of local and regional governments within this investment strategy. So that was a little bit our aim, to influence also the Council. And in this case, this process also gave us the opportunity to engage with the Commission and to share on a shared initiative, a shared project that will be co-financed by the Commission and by ourselves to promote the participation of regions in partner countries in this investment strategy. So, in conclusion, the drafting of an opinion gives you the opportunity not only to influence the policy making, but also to lead the dialogue with key stakeholders in the process. First, European institutions, the Parliament, which plays a crucial role, the Commission, member states directly in a bilateral manner, but also through the Council, which are the key players. I was talking earlier, the Committee of the Regions, a little bit in the peripheria of this institutional architecture, but from the peripheria you can get a direct link with the core agents of the policy-making process. And I think this is very relevant. We have used not only opinions, but also participation in networks and in gatherings for crucial areas for us. Nicola was mentioning, and we are following very closely, this water resilience initiative, which is crucial for us. And the committee provided, the committee under the leadership of Emilia-Romagna provided this a space for the gathering of different regions, and the aim will be to influence the European policy making, but also to exchange among us on solutions and the strategies we are following to address crucial challenges. And we are doing the same with the Industrial Accelerated Act, which is for industrial regions, is also crucial. Here with Baden-Württemberg, we had also some exchanges on how to be complementary. We are doing the same for Mediterranean policies and for the elaboration of the Pact for the Mediterranean. Here with some Mediterranean regions, we are also articulating through ARLEM. So we use in a very concrete manner, in a very pragmatical manner, the committee, but always complementing with other channels. This sense of complementing, of this idea of complementing with other channels, I think is crucial to make your performance in the committee more effective.
Thank you very much, Agustí. I would like to turn to Florian to hear your insights about this, how relevant is for your region, the Committee of the Regions, and how do you organize it?
Thank you very much. Maybe first I introduce a little bit how is it organized in Germany, because you have Germany has 24 seats in the Committee of the Regions, so there's one per Länder, one per state. So there's one permanent seat, which is in Baden-Württemberg always occupied by a governmental member of the government, and that's why normally it's organized also inside the government. And if there's a second mandate, so there's a rotating system of 5 seats, which are rotated between the 16 Länder. Then the second seat eventually goes to the state parliament. So we have sometimes in several mandates we have 2 members, and one is then from the parliament and one is from the government. It's not always the case. And then we have also the third category in Germany. It's the local level, the associations of the districts, of the cities, and of the municipalities. And relatively often we have also sometimes a member from these. Of Baden-Württemberg at the moment we have the district councillor of Karlsruhe. He's also the vice president of the district councillors, and now he's also the president of CPMR. So there's also a close relation to them. So that's maybe one thing you have to know because of this, and which also guides me also to the second point. How's it organized? It's normally organized inside the Ministry for European, or inside the Ministry which is organizing or coordinating the EU policy. So we also involve all the different ministries with their expertise on EU affairs. So we try also then to follow the plenary sessions, but also the work in the different commissions. We are also normally our members are a member in the COTER and the CIVEX committee. That's, I think, for us also very important issues, because the CIVEX, the general question of subsidiarity, but also the question of how regional autonomy can be developed. I think this is a very important issue for us. And COTER, the MFF cohesion policy, but also cross-border cooperation is very important for us, because we have a lot of direct cross-border cooperation with Switzerland, with France, but also inter-regional cooperation with Catalonia, for instance, but also the macro-regional cooperations. And I think these are also the policy issues we follow inside the Committee of the Regions. And this maybe explains also the question how we use the committee. I think it's important that it's complementary, as my colleague from Catalonia always says, that we have certain priorities in the state government on EU affairs, and that we have certain policy positions which are coordinated inside the state government, and then we try to follow these in the different areas, in the different channels. And that's why it's also the Committee of the Region is then part of this picture, and we try to get our messages also there through. Like for Switzerland, we had this position with the different in the different institutions, like the council, like the commission, also the parliament, but then also the Committee of the Regions. And then we try to raise our points also in the drafting of the opinions, but also then in the plenary, but also afterwards. But we also make a lot of use of this thematic networks, like the association, the Alliance of Automotive Regions, the ARA, the Automotive Regions Alliance, because we think it's very important to build coalitions among like-minded regions, and therefore the Committee of Regions plays an important role to use these thematic networks also to advocate for common positions, and to lobby a little bit also for these points inside the EU, EU institutions. Another point which is also very important for us, it's the REC Hub network. We are actively participating since the beginning of the Reg Hub network, and we try also to contribute with our experiences in the implementation of the legislation, and we always participate in the consultations and also try to raise points for the future work. So this is also an important issue. And maybe the final point is that also during the plenary sessions, as it's already mentioned, we also try to evolve our network, the personal contacts, also of the CUR members of the different, to make this network a little bit alive, and also to try to build new contacts and to expand our network, and also on the Brussels level. So as I mentioned, it's the Committee of the Region is normally coordinated in Stuttgart, but nevertheless we have a very close coordination with the representation here in Brussels, and also colleagues here follow. So it's also part of the whole picture, and we also collaborate very closely. And if there are issues which are dealt with in Brussels, our colleagues here are also involved, and I think this is important point either. Maybe as a last point, also the delegation meetings, I think we can mention we are already very much engaged there. So I remember well when we made a Franco-German delegation meeting, and there have been ideas also to make delegation meetings with other national delegations, which are maybe hosted here in the representation. So this is also an important aspect, that there's also this kind of collaboration, cooperation in this aspect. So this is maybe the broad picture I can write here on the board a little bit.
Thank you very much, Nicola. What do you think about all this?
Sorry. Okay. Do you hear me now? Yeah. Regulation is the useful scheme, and I became also the expert supporting the opinion. And so more or less the path is the same as we heard by Agustín. From the very beginning, we worked closely with the technical department of our regional director, general direction of agriculture, which have experience in this field. In Italy, regions are responsible for approving, monitoring, and financing the operational programs of the producer organizations. We have direct knowledge of how the common market organization works in practice. And through the regional administration, we also engage with the Association of Producer Organizations in Emilia-Romagna, that are the most important in Italy, representing thousands of farmers, and to gather their experience and expectation. And we also coordinated with the other Italian regions through the Agricultural Policy Committee on the Conference of the Italian Regions, and met also with the Italian permanent representation to the EU to better understand the Italian government position, discussing what is going on in the Council. At the European level, we exchange views with the REC, as already mentioned, is a network of European regions producing fruit and vegetables and producers. And we make use of its position papers on the reform of the Common Market Organization. And thanks to the support of the NAT Secretariat, we were able to organize bilateral meetings with DG Agri, with the European Parliament Rapporteur, and with several shadow rapporteurs. And also the NAT Secretary himself, particularly its agricultural policy expert, together with our political group, the PES, PES, provided valuable support in preparing the draft opinion. Before submitting the draft opinion in April this year, we organized a local dialogue, a committee of the regional local dialogue during MacFruit. There is an international fruit and vegetable exhibition held in Rimini. I think it was a really important moment. We invited representatives of the fruit and vegetable sector from all over Italy to discuss the future of the reform. And the event was extremely successful. The main Italian sectoral organizations were there and were presenting their position paper. And a few days later, we organized a stakeholder consultation at the Committee of the Region, extending the discussion to the European level. So this broad consultation process proved to be very valuable. I'm happy for Catalonia region for the unanimity. We still don't have the unanimity in the plenary, but we got the unanimity on the adoption of the opinion in the NAF Commission on the 1st of June. And the following day, thanks to the contacts established through the committee and the support of the NAF Secretariat, Minister Mammi was invited to present the opinion before the Comagri. So during this first exchange of views on the Parliament report on CMO. So I think this clearly demonstrates that the added value of the Committee of the Region. None of these institutional contacts or consultation opportunity would have been possible without the visibility and credibility that come with being a co-rapporteur and without the support provided by the committee itself. And we are now preparing for the plenary adoption of the opinion that will be in October. And I'm working to arrange a bilateral meeting with the European Commissioner, Hansen, for agriculture. This is another example of how the committee strengthened the political voice of regional representatives. Because securing such a meeting would certainly be much more difficult if the request came simply from a regional minister acting alone. I think if I have just 1 minute, I would like to add something. We think it was really important, and I would like to add, as rapporteur, Mr. Mammi was invited to join the steering committee established by the CEO President Catatutto, very important initiative, bringing together all the rapporteurs working on opinions related to the next multi-annual financial framework. And this initiative allowed us to build a common strategy, ensure consistency across the different opinions, and work in close cooperation with all the rapporteurs. In particular, we coordinated with the rapporteur responsible for the National Regional Partnership Plan opinion, aligning amendments and recommendations on the common market organization that are closely linked to the legislative framework. So, for us, this has been a concrete example of how the Committee of the Region is not only a consultative body, but also a platform for coordination, policy influence, and partnership between regions across Europe.
Thank you very much. I think one of the main takeaways from this panel is that really when regions like yours are willing to use the Committee of the Regions as a driver to defend their interest, and they really decide to take an active role in the Committee of the Regions, there are many areas of influence which open up, and that if you use this in complementarity with other instruments, it can really use or work as an important multiplier. And I think all the examples that you have been given show this and are good examples for other regions. Of course, I insist that the 3 regions that are here representing, you are here representing are outstanding regions within the Committee of the Regions. They are very active, but I see with all your examples that the Committee of the Regions is used really as a driver to reach other institutions, for example. Okay, now we would move to the third block. This is more about opportunities and limitations. I think we have already been talking, it's unavoidable, about opportunities and limitations, but I would insist, maybe if you can go a little in detail from your experience, what are the main strengths of the committee as well as the limits? Do you think that in the last years this has changed? There has been more limitations or there has been more strength for you? It offers you more strengths or limitations? And finally, in which areas do you think that the committee provides greatest added value? maybe some things have been said. Since this is a very practical panel, I think if you can give examples, this also helps very much to understand this experience. So again, I would like to give the word to Agustí.
Okay, thank you again. Well, I will insist in some issues that have already been said and maybe add some other perspectives that I think are relevant. First, among the strengths, I think we all agree that the committee provides an articulated path to be connected with key policy spheres, key policy agendas that are very relevant for us. So the channel matters, and this institutionalized channel is very relevant, I insist, to be connected with policy conversations in Brussels that are very, very relevant, and to do it at a high level. So I think this is relevant. It also gives you the opportunity to strengthen your networks with other peers, with other stakeholders that are relevant for the policy dossiers you are boosting, you are implementing, and it also provides you with visibility, which is also, I think, very, very relevant for a government for us. Concerning I really believe that the committee has more capacity in certain areas and less capacity in others. There is a traditional action between the committee and certain dossiers, the MFF, so every time that there is a discussion open to define the new budget, the new multi-annual financial framework, the Committee of the Regions is expected to be consulted. So there is I think the will and the interest by the European institutions to hear what the committee is thinking. I think there is a very strong connection with other sectoral policies, regional policies, structural funds, cohesion, agriculture, urban issues, climate transitions, transport. These are key dossiers for regions where, well, I would say the committee has stayed and is consulted with the aim of taking into consideration the opinion of the committee. There are other key issues for cities that I believe that the Commission, the Parliament, the Member State, these regions a bit more in the periphery. I use periphery a lot today, but when it comes to industrial issues, when it comes to competitivity, when it comes to digital transition, when it comes to AI, semiconductors, etc., issues that for regions, for us, are very, very relevant. We have an industrial policy, we have a policy to the digital era and to strengthen our capacities in AI industry and markets, in the semiconductors, in chemical, whatever. But I believe if these dossiers, the Commission, the Parliament, see local and regional governments more in the picture. Also in the global Europe, despite the decentralized cooperation and the role of local and regional governments in global affairs are an asset for the EU. When it comes to the weaknesses of the committee, I've always thought that heterogeneity, if you could speak English. So the diversity of the constituency that integrates the committee. We have at the same room regional parliaments, local governments, provinces, cities, cantons, metropolitan areas, So it is a really diverse perspective. But if you analyze a little bit, for example, regions have regions from federal states with strong legislative power, in the case of Germany, in the case of Austria, even the case of Spain, with regions that operate local governments, the case of France or other countries with less competences or competences that are shared with the central government. So, for example, in our case, we are responsible for highly sensitive competence like health or education, which are crucial, which are pivotal the welfare system. So these differences, in my perspective, weaken a little bit the capacity of the Committee of the Regions to influence. That is why there is a dialogue open here on the sense of the necessity to redefine the Committee of the Regions, to move forward or to move towards bicameral Committee of the Regions, where regions could gather in a single camera and see local authorities in another one. Well, this is an open debate that lasted many, many years. It's nothing new, but I think it's relevant. I insist this diversity, this heterogeneity of the constituency might weaken a little bit the capacity of the institution to have a strong voice and to influence the policy making. Because I insist, it is a good mechanism. We have to be all aware that we are in front of a consultative body. I insist, I think the voice of the committee, especially in certain areas, is heard, is taken into consideration. The real capacity to influence, well, it's more limited, but I think it's a very relevant institution.
Thank you very much, Agustí, for your ideas. Florian, it's over to you.
Thank you very much. So what are the main strengths of the Committee of the Regions? I think at first we have to look at the treaties, and it was already mentioned when it was created. It has an institutional role which is guaranteed by the treaties, and I think it's very important that it has developed and has also augmented its powers. And I remember well when 20 years or even more 20 years ago, when we had the Convention for Europe, the European Convention, where also the member of the German Bundesrat, Erwin Teufel, at that time Minister President of Baden-Württemberg, also tried to make a point for the region, for regional autonomy, and also for the Committee of the Region. And I remember well, because I was on the very junior level, also a little bit involved in the work. And I remember well that he were very close, in very close contact with the members of the Committee of the Regions, or the delegates of the Committee of the Regions at that time in the European Convention, and that they achieved something that I think the role of the committee was strengthened already in the Lisbon Treaty, and also its role was very much appreciated in the early warning system, which was then also established. And I think this is also an important strength of the Committee of the Regions, which maybe it should make more use of it, that it also has a high role in this early warning procedure. Which is maybe sometimes a little bit underestimated, and also in the definition and the implementation of the principle of subsidiarity and proportionality. I think this is also a very important tool and a very important role, and this is all guaranteed by the treaties. So this is maybe one strength. The other strength is the high legitimacy through its elected members. I think it's very much important that it's like different from the Committee of the Social and Economic Committee. It's a different idea behind that, but the Committee of the Region is really representing the multi-level government, and I think that the local level and the regional level has a high degree of legitimacy through the elected members, and I think we always say it's a state level. So we don't want to be compared with like social interests and other things. So I think that we have to appreciate, and that's why it's also important that this is also enshrined in the treaties in Article 5, that the local and regional autonomy, it's also part of the identity of the European Union. And I think this is also a very important role, and the Committee of the Region, maybe it's the institutionalized expression of this principle. So this is also a very strength. And then I already mentioned that that's the high expertise of the regional administrations, especially in the implementation of EU legislation. I think this could not be underestimated, because the Commission and the Parliament, they don't have this close ties to the on-site administration, and I think that they can really make use of it in a very good way to improve also EU legislation and make it more applicable for the daily users. And we hear a lot of debates on simplification, etc. at the moment, and I think this is a very valuable contribution the Committee of the Region at the moment still does, and can make also in the future. And last point on the strengths, it's that its members, I think, are very close to the citizens. You already mentioned the mayors, but also the local, the regional governments. I think many of them also have a mandate in the constituency, and have a very close contacts to all the citizens. And I think this bridge between the people and also the EU level, it's very much important, and I think this should not be underestimated, at least at the moment, but not only at the moment. Maybe it's also very much important for the future. So what are the limitations? I think it was already mentioned, my colleague from Catalonia, this is diversity of the regions and the cities inside, because they have very different constitutional, legislative, financial, and administrative powers. So this is this united in diversity principle, which is also reflected in the Committee of the Regions, and we have to deal with it. Nevertheless, I think if we are aware of it, we can also try to cope with it a little bit, but I think this won't change. Even inside the German federal system, we have the 16 lenders have the same rights and the same constitutional guarantees, but nevertheless, there's a difference between Bavaria and Bremen. So still, so I think we know this diversity also inside our federal system, and we have to cope with it. But this is a limiting aspect of its work, and also, as you already mentioned, it's only a limited institutional role as a consultative body, so it's not a third chamber which has a co-decision right or something like this. I think this maybe have been some hopes at the beginning, but it maybe was from the start on not realistic. But this is the limitations we have, and I think you can also try to work with it. And maybe there's another limitation is also the committee of the members. They have a job at home. it's maybe the main priority for them. Like there's a time limitation, a resource limitation. I think that they can not devote a lot of time for the work. I think a lot of them are really passionate and invest a lot of time, but nevertheless, it's like when I see in Baden-Württemberg, the state parliament has, I don't know, each month at least 1 or 2 plenary sessions. Every Tuesday we have the Council of Ministers, where normally the members of the government are expected to attend, and all these things. So this is also, or mayors. I know that we have also some mayors, which are, if you're a mayor of a big city, you have a lot of your diary is, or your agenda is full of items. So I think this is a limitative factor. Like, it's not like the European Parliament where the members are it's the main shop, but nevertheless, if you're aware of it, you can also find ways to deal with it. And then the question was also, how have these opportunities and limitations changed over time? I think they have. I had read, and maybe also some chats I had with people who are longer term civil servants in our administration. They said at the beginning, at least in Germany, the lenders had high expectations, maybe overarching or exaggerated expectations in the Committee of the Region. But I think we have to be realistic, and I think the committee had also its merits in making the case for regional and local autonomy. It maybe this is also at the moment factor we have also to be aware of, that there is a certain trend, as Minister also already mentioned in his introductory speech, that there's a tendency or a risk that there's a risk of re-centralization, especially in connecting with the MFF and the cohesion policy. And we also see it the more we get involved in this drafting of the national and regional partnership plans. I think this is really a fact we can't ignore. And the more I think should be the role of the Committee of the Regions, sort of a watchdog or a voice for regional and local autonomy, and really making the case. To my mind, it could be even more louder in this respect. But I think it's very important that we have this voice strengthened, and this is really a point which also triggers us at the moment a little bit, and worries us also, that there's a sort of downgrading a little bit of this idea of regional and local autonomy, and we have really to make the case for it. And I think therefore, if there would not be such an institution like the Committee of Regions, we would have created at the moment, just to have an institutional voice for this. I think when I look on the last years, it's very obvious that the Committee of the Regions has also tried to focus more strategically on regional and local issues, and to be more, to be closer in this cycle, in the different stages of legislation, and also to have a very close connecting with the European Parliament. I think this is very important, that there's a very strong link between these two parliamentary dimensions, I would say, and also with the Commission. And I think if you look on the last years on the plenaries, etc., the committee is aware of the value of the Committee of the Regions, and also sees him at least sometimes as a partner. And I think this is a very good trend, and also that the Committee of the Regions has created new networks, as we already mentioned, the ARA or the ESRA or other thematic networks. I think this is quite important to like focus a little bit more on these different policies and also this stronger role of RECAP you already mentioned, and that there's also a lot of initiatives in the new for the Commission in this mandate to be involved in the better regulation process. I think this is also a very important aspect from the last years to make also there, not only in the drafting of legislation, but also in the evaluation and in the impact assessment of legislation, which then is already, to make the circle around, also a very important stage for the redrafting or for new initiatives. So this should not be underestimated. And maybe finally, the point in which policy areas the Committee of the Region particularly valuable for regional government. I think all the issues where regional competences are concerned, like the regional development, cross-border cooperation, regional innovation strategies, education, environmental questions, climate change. I think there are a lot digital transformation, in industrial transformation, because we are all the sides of our industries, and I think this is a very important aspect that development also of the base of European industry takes place in the cities and in the regions. And if you want to be and to stay a strong economy, I think this dimension has to be more, the focus has to be much more on this, to create a good an environment and to, because a lot of things, as already have been mentioned, are taking place on the local level, the infrastructure, the education system, etc., which are decisive for the companies. And also the point of research and innovation, like we have the, at least in Germany, but I know a lot other regions are the competent authority for the management of the universities and all the whole research areas. So I think this is a very important issue which should be more developed, also with view of the next MFF, that the programs also under direct management, like the Horizon program or the new ECF, the European Competitiveness Fund, there also the regions are a little bit involved in the programming and the governance of this programs. I think this is important aspect we should also mention. I think how should go on, build more thematic networks and make the use of the administrative powers and experiences. I think in the better regulation processes, I think this is very much important. And also the work, as already Gianluca Spinacci called on a lot of on the cross-border cooperation. I think this is where also Europe comes really alive, and that people really can feel the European added value. And I think this is an important area also to work together and to make these European networks alive. And I think the Committee of the Region has the capacity to really serve as a good platform for all these initiatives.
Very important indeed, thank you. And now to finish this block, and if there's no technical problems this time, Nicola, you have the floor.
Okay, I hope so. No, I think we share a common vision between us, because maybe we are regions in a federal, some way state, and so we experience more or less the same thing. But I will try to read quite quickly what I try to answer to your question. And first, I think we should start from the very nature of the COR. and the CRR is a political institution composed by elected representatives from different levels of government with very different responsibilities, political backgrounds, and administrative experience. So, and the real challenge is to transform this diversity into added value for the European legislative process, to distill from thousands of local and regional experience the lessons that can help European policymakers design better legislation. But we believe that the value of the committee should not be measured only by how effectively it brings regional interest to Brussels. It should also be measured by how effectively it brings Europe back to the regions, as I said before. In other words, the committee works in two directions. On the one hand, it gives local and regional authorities the opportunity to contribute to European policymaking. On the other, it enables its members to return to their territories with a deeper understanding of European policy. This is very important, helping them explain European decisions, build local consensus, and strengthen citizen awareness on the European project. I think this second dimension is sometimes underestimated, but is really, really important. In this respect, the recent strengthening of initiatives such as local dialogue that we used for drafting our opinion and external meetings is a very positive development. And these instruments allows the committee to engage not only with its own members, but also with local media, stakeholders, civil society, and those municipalities and regions that are not directly represented in the committee. And so they help transform the COR from a Brussels-based institution into a genuinely territorial institution. At the same time, we should also recognize, as the colleague said before, the committee's limitation. Its influence on European legislation is by definition limited by its consultative nature. But there is another limitation which is often overlooked. Unlike members of the European Parliament, I think Florian said it, core members do not work full-time on European affairs. And their primary responsibility remains their own territory. And some members, particularly from smaller municipalities, have very limited administrative support and no dedicated staff dealing with European affairs. Others, like us, especially regional governments or large cities, can rely on Brussels offices, technical departments, political cabinets. Inevitably, I don't know the accent, creates differences in the capacity of members to contribute to the committee's work. Our own experience suggests that the real added value of the committee emerges when political representatives are supported by professional staff with expertise in European policy and with delegation in Brussels. However, I would also argue that judging the committee only by the extent to which its opinions influence the final legislative text risks overlooking, as I said, a large part of its real contribution. Some of what appears to be a limitation is in fact one of its greatest strengths. Much of the committee's impact is relational rather than legislative. Its influence begins long before an opinion is adopted in a plenary. It lies in the relationship that are built between regions, city, and European institutions. And this relationship create trust, facilitate cooperation, and often shape legislative discussion well before formal decisions are taken. And this dimension is difficult to measure, but is extremely valuable in our opinion. And another unique strength of the committee is the perspective that its members bring. Regional, as I think also Agustín and Florian said, regional and local representatives are the public authorities closest to citizens, and they are the first to see how European legislation works in practice. They know which policies deliver results, which create unnecessary burdens, but we have also that, and where implementation can be improved. In this sense, they provide evidence that neither national governments nor the European institution can always access directly. And at the same time, there are also the public representative best placed to explain how the European Union works to the citizen. If we want to strengthen trust in the European project, local and regional authorities are indispensable partners. They are in many ways the ambassadors of European integration within our communities. And it is difficult to imagine a stronger political union if regions and municipalities are progressively marginalized and if more and more decisions are centralized either in Brussels or national capitals. That's what is going on now, as we know, with the new financing framework. If I have just 2 minutes more, I have a couple of just ideas looking in the future. My personal view, our personal view, is that the ideal long-term objective would be to strengthen the institutional role of the committee. And in an ideal scenario, the core could gradually evolve from a purely consultative body into a genuine chamber of regional local authorities, Bundesrat, it was said, and with specific powers in areas such as territorial cohesion or other areas, as we already said, and the monitoring of subsidiarity and multi-level governance. However, we know this would require treaty change, and today the political climate does not seem to move in that direction, rather in the opposite. But within the current treaties, however much can still be done, the committee can strengthen its political influence by becoming an even stronger public voice for European regions and cities. And the current president, Catalunya, has already shown how effective public communication and social media can be in increasing the visibility of the institution. The last press release Catalunya made on cohesion took the first page of the Italian newspapers, and so it was really visible, really vocal. And so also local dialogue can become an even more important tool for bringing Europe closer to citizens. And I think also the committee could also play a stronger role in territorial proofing, ensuring that the territorial impact of European legislation is systematically assessed before new proposals are adopted. And they should be involved much earlier in the preparation of legislative initiative. Okay, I would say some more questions, more issues, but I think it's already enough, and the time is running, and I will stop there.
Thank you very much, Nicola. Yes, indeed, the time is running out. However, all your contributions have been very interesting. I would sum up this last block saying that you all agree that the importance of the Committee of the Regions is key to preserve the principle of subsidiarity. It's also key to preserve democracy. You have put the accent on the importance of the fact that the members are legitimately elected, and also that they are very close to the citizens, so they guarantee this down to the process. However, you also agree, and this is very important, you all agree that this diversity is in fact a break to the development of the Committee of the Regions. It's a challenge, something that it's very difficult to solve. However, the importance of the Committee of the Regions is now more important than ever because of this recentralization process that we might be living with the next multi-annual financial framework. So even with its limitations, even with its structural problems, the committee has to be preserved, and democracy, it has to be used and maintained as a tool for the preservation of democracy and defense of the power of the regions. Because we have run out of time, I would like to leave the round table here. We will not devote time for questions. In fact, we have checked the questions in the chat, and they have been mostly answered with your contributions, so we would stop now here. I would like to thank you very much. As I said, they were very interesting insights, and I would like now to give the word to Javier to close the session. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Deborah. My intention was to try to draw a few conclusions, but I think this is extremely difficult, both because of most of the participation was already pretty much self-conclusive in the ideas and the contributions, and also because of the excellent work done by Deborah and Anna, who also summed up the main ideas after each of the two panels. So I'd like to use only a few minutes to do something maybe more personal, which is more my own understanding of this seminar. And for me, as someone who witnessed the creation of the Committee of the Regions more than 30 years ago, it's impossible not to think of those times as a race or as a moment where there were different ideas, also from here, Catalunya, behind the creation of the Committee of the Regions. You could see the more traditional, embodied by the government of Catalunya and Jordi Pujol, who was a member of the Assembly of European Regions. And they were thinking of the Committee of the Regions together with their German counterparts, and also the federal Länder from Austria and the federal regions of Belgium. The Committee of the Regions as a chamber of regional representation and regional reading of European legislation. So the idea of having a kind of Senate, what they called a third chamber, a third level. And that was one vision of the Committee of the Region, which was more formal, more traditional, also more federal. And at the same time, we had Pasqual Maragall, and we have territories, and we have Pasqual Maragall. He made it to be the president also of the Committee of the Regions. We have the tradition of Barcelona, and that was completely different. And it was more the dynamism of territories, and seeing Europe as a place where this kind of dynamism could have something like an institutional impact, and we would have different territorial groupings which were connected to the reality of things on the field. For example, the European grouping of territorial cooperation and the Euro region of Pasqual Maragall was the second idea, of more the territories and their interests and their dynamism. And then there was also there was also Felipe González and Jacques Delors, who were allies, and they were both proposing the creation of this committee. And as Gianluca mentioned, or he reminded us, Jacques Delors said, okay, you have to be influential, you have to focus. And his approach to this was, you would be an important chamber if you manage to have an impact on regional policy. That was Jacques Delors' recommendation. So at DIT we have these three souls. 3 years ago, we have those three concurring ideas behind the creation of the committee. So I was listening to these different interventions and ideas, and I was asking which one of those prevailed, this is my personal question today, which one of these ideas is more important today? And I think that the question, the answer is not easy, but I think none of them prevail. The Committee of the Regions is not really a federal chamber of territorial reading. It's also not strictly a chamber for territorial dynamism or a chamber where the regional funds are consulted. It's so much more than that, as we've seen today. It's a place for territorial connection and networking with other bodies and other networks in associations, as Gianluca explained. It is a place also for detail and this nuance that Anna was highlighting on Robert's speech, though it gives the opportunity to other European bodies to better understand what's going on in the in the territorial realm. It is a place, it's also a platform for territorial grouping, for dialogue, for getting together to understand, as Florian said, what other regions are and territorial and local organizations are thinking about European legislation. It is the only place where you can really have a word and a voice pretty much on every aspect of the European agenda. So it is so much more. I think it's a place for what we can call multi-level governance. Multi-level governance is not just vertical intergovernmental relations. It's not just how you relate to your host government or the central government and Europe. It's also how you relate horizontally to your stakeholders and discuss. And I think the Committee of the Regions has given us the opportunity to understand better multi-level governance. As Agustí, the representative from Catalonia, was saying, being the rapporteur in this specific piece of legislation regarding the Global Gateway gave them the opportunity to liaise with the European Parliament, with the Commission, and also with specific, at high level, also specific member states. So that would be more intergovernmental, vertical relation. But as Florian and as Nicola were saying today, also debating the priorities of their respective regions at the Committee of the Regions, give them the opportunity to discuss internally, territorially, with their stakeholders in each of the regions about Europe, no? And that would be more of a horizontal dimension. And that would make up something that the metaphor of multi-level governance, which is quality in both vertical and horizontal relations. I think this is, for me, this is a usual takeaway today, the way that Committee of the Regions is not only effective in being an important part in the European policy making, but it's also a consolidated piece on European democracy, as Anna and Deborah and other people and other participants were saying. Democracy not only in the sense that we have a formal system with specific duties and attributions, but also a practical system of dialogue, representation, communication, culture, where the different stakeholders and voters and inhabitants can understand better what the European process is about, and also have their voice heard and participate somehow. No, so it's not just a question of federalism or effectiveness, it's also a question of democracy. And also having an advocate for local and regional self-government, which is also one of the consolidated roles that I think the Committee of the Regions has created in these 30 years of operation. So those are things where maybe were not foreseen or not important 30 years ago, but are now a part of the European landscape of and the European integration. And I think those are very valuable and are solid pieces with which we can face the future. And then Anna Terron was saying, look onto this next 30 years that hopefully will happen, and we will ask again, or our children will ask again, what's going to become of the Committee of the Regions. I finish by thanking the Institut d'Estudis de l'Autogovern, the Institute for Self-Government, for co-hosting and co-organizing the seminar. For us, the Center of Contemporary Studies, this is one first element in an ongoing discussion, which is going to lead up to our number 67, I think, Ideas magazine, which is going to be devoted to regional and federal approaches to the European Union and European integration. This is going to happen in a few months, but this is a dialogue which is beginning now and hopefully continuing over the next few months and weeks and months, hopefully with Gianluca and his report on regions and cities in the Committee of the Regions and other activities that we intend to be having. For us, this is a high opportunity to also discuss again something that we were very active in, which is this regional participation in European affairs, federalism, regionalism, and all those things, which were a very important part of our work a few years ago, and that's something that we're going to go back to and work in for the next months. So thank you very much here in Catalonia for your participation. Thank you to the director and to Deborah here, and thank you to those who have been connecting, and see you soon. Thank you.
Avremo o la continuazione